Welcome back. Today we're going to tie Kelly Galloup's Peanut Envy. We're going to tie this one in tan today. This is one of the patterns that probably gets overlooked more so than just about any major streamer pattern out there. People always want to go with the big, bulky, gaudy stuff that has just a ton of motion. This is a really thin profiled pattern. But there are days, especially if you get a day where it is just completely cloudless and you just got pure sun, the peanut's the one that I will go to probably first and foremost over anything. That or the 10-2, depending, how much flash I want to be throwing. But the Peanut Envy, like I said, probably gets overlooked, and I'm guilty of it as well. I overlooked it for quite some time. I wanted to be throwing the dungeons and the boogeymen, but there's some days where that broad profile just isn't going to do it, and you need a little bit thinner of a profile. So I started reeling myself in and going away from those really gaudy, bulky patterns and started tying on a lot of the thinner ones to a lot more success, on days that are a lot more sunny. It just seems to whatever it is, I don't know exactly, I can't say exactly what it is, but the thinner profiled patterns do seem to do a lot better on the bright days. So, without any further rambling, we will get tying Kelly's Peanut Envy. Starting off on this one, it's an MFC 7050 size 4. And we've got gel spun 100. As always, we're going to take our thread back to the ascent of the barb of the hook and just work that forward slightly so we can start to tie in our tail. On the tail for this one, we're going to go with some blood quill Marabou. This is just tan. I'm going to get 2 pieces out here. There's 1 and 2. That looks pretty good. Now I'm going to take this top section right here. That's all the more that I want to work with. I'm just going to bust that off. Wind up with a bunch of Marabou in my mouth. And I'm going to measure this out, the length of the hook. Slightly longer, if anything. And we'll just get that tied into place. We've got our Marabou we got our Marabou tail going back, and then we're just going to work that the rest of the way back the body. Just add a little bit of a taper, a little bit of bulk to the pattern. We're going to go with some Flashabou. This is just gold holographic, 2 strands. Get that out of there. 2 strands doubled up for 4 on each side. And then we'll run this back into the tail, stopping just short of the length of the tail. Yep, it was wanting to flip on me a little bit. There we go. Then we'll trim that opposite side the same length that we have my side. Same thing, we're going to double this tail up, grab another blood quill plume, and lengthen that out. There we go. Same length, maybe a little bit longer on that front. Now before I run that to the front section, I'm going to tie in my rib material. This is just a medium gold wire. And we'll take that, tie this in. This is going to capture our Schlappen. Go 1, 2, get a couple of good wraps down there. Fold that back around so it doesn't slide out on you when you're counter wrapping. And one last step before we work our way to the front, just make a dubbing loop. This is going to be for our ice dub body. Get that, set that in. Now I'm going to work this section up to the front. Capture a little bit more of that. There we go. That looks good. So now we'll take this and we'll just form a half hitch. I'm going to leave a little bit, maybe 1/8 of an inch prior to the eye of the hook. That's mainly so I can fit in some rubber legs and some Marabou for a Marabou overwing, and the Schlappen that we've got to tie in as well. But we'll take just a little bit of ice dub here. We're going to form our body. Get that into place. And then give that a quick spin. There we go. My wire's gonna want to go all over the place on me here using that rotary function, so I'll get that out of the way. And then just take our body right up to where we left off with our thread. Get that out of the way. Now we're going to go into some tan Schlappen. If you want on this, you can go, sometimes I'll use like the grizzly Schlappen. It'll be like a tan and brown, or tan and black even. I like the way that looks, but we're just going to go straight tan on this today. So we'll get that out of our way. Trim up a little bit more of that stem. Get that into place. 1, 2 loose wraps. We'll tighten that up. Get a couple of good wraps on there, and then we're nice and secure. Half hitch again. And then we'll grab our, that damn phone's been ringing all day, driving me nuts. Grab our Hackle pliers, and then we're just going to work this straight back. Nice even spacing, nice even tension. I got one that wanted to trap on me right there. Get out of there. There we go. Like I was saying, nice even spacing, nice even tension throughout this. And then we're going to take our gold wire and we're going to counter wrap this. Just rip it right through. You'll see it seems to trap a little bit less when you just speed right through it. Any of the ones that are trapped, you can just pick them out by hand, and then you've got a nice profile for your body. You can see how that'll slick back once it's in the water. Really sleek, slender pattern. So now we'll trim off that excess, set it off to the side for the front hook. Get rid of that tag end of Schlappen. There we go. Now that body, or that Schlappen, is running right back into our tail. Nice clean back half here. Just mash that barb down, or not the barb, but the wire a little bit. I had a little burr there. Now the last thing that we'll do before we finish this off, so I'm going to take 2 strands. This is a gold, amber, and black fly enhancer. These are just rubber legs. And then I want to set, like I said, I just have 2 of them here. I want to set that right over the top, and then figure 8 that section. I saw I had 1 wrap in front of that figure 8. Nice and loose wraps. I'm able to manipulate those legs wherever I want them. They're sitting down nice and straight as they are right there. And then I want to go 1, 2, and then pull down tight on it. And those rubber legs are just going to sit nice and even, just how I want them. Now, you can trim these right now if you want, or you can wait for the end of the fly. I'm just going to trim them now, get them out of my way. Then they're sitting back. When they peel back, they're going to go just shy of the overall length of the hook. Then I want to take, this is some Woolly Bugger Marabou. I like these overwings to be really bulky. If I go and try and put on just a blood quill tan, you can do it. You really have to sort through them to get it to get the right one. You want a bunch of webbiness to these feathers. So I just typically go with Woolly Bugger Marabou, and I find a section right about like this here. I find that section, and then I just peel that off. And what I want with this is I want it going back to about the tie-in point on my tail. So I'm going to move everything back here. Shouldn't have cut those legs yet. Should have let them just hanging. But anyhow, you can see where that's going back about to the tie-in point on the tail. Even a little bit further back if you want. And then get just a nice clean, even wrap. Not a lot of pressure on it just yet. And then we can just peel that stuff back. Get it away from our eye. And then we have a nice head for the back half. I got a couple of fibers wanting to split on me there. Hopefully it doesn't mess with the whip finish, and it will. Alright. Try and clean that up a little bit. Sometimes when these fibers split on you, this is a good point to make right here. When these fibers start to split on you, when you're doing your whip finish or you're doing deer hair work, whatever it is, you can see how those fibers are just frayed. If you take and turn your thread counterclockwise, it will bring all of those fibers together. I'm not sure how well the camera's picking that up. I can see it pretty good from this angle, but just take and spin that one more time, and sometimes it'll make life a little easier for you because it will, like I say, bring that fray together. But I've got a good bit of it there. It worked out. Worked out all right. So we'll go ahead and get rid of that. Clean out any of that mess that I have on there. And then I want to get rid of that. There we go. Now I'm going to take just a tan marker. I want to touch that up a little bit. That looks pretty good. Get my rubber legs back to the right side here. Get over here. There we go. They wanted to run on me a little bit. Okay, so now before I move into this front hook, I'm going to take a straw just to get all of that material out of my way, and that way it's not going to interfere with anything that we're doing on the front hook. I grab a bead. This is just a red 6/0 bead. Garbage. There we go, that looks a little better. And then I'm going to grab a length of 19 strand Beadalon. This is 38 thousandths, and we'll put this, we'll work that right down through the center section, or right down through the eye of the hook, even those out, give it a quick pull, and then work your bead right over the top. Pull that out of the vise, and we're ready for our front hook. The front on this one's a size 2, 70/50 from MFC. Let's see if I need to adjust that at all. Nope, that's pretty good. Like I was saying, size 2, 70/50. And then what I like to do, this has a gold cone head on it. Sometimes I'll use black, sometimes I'll go gold on these tan. I mix it up a little bit. But I always like to take a little bit of wire whenever I'm working with these bead heads. Let me get this out of here. This is 30 thousandths. It's a little bit bigger than what I should probably put on here. 20 thousandths will do. But I'm just making 3 wraps right around there. It doesn't want to bust off for me. I just want, like I said, 3 wraps on here, and then I'm going to force that into the cone head to stabilize it, because you can see how that's just flopping around a little bit. Let me get one more wrap right there, and then we'll trim this out, and you'll see how well this thing will stabilize that hook, or that cone head. Oh, I'm going to take a little bit of glue here, and I'm just going to dab that right on the front. A little bit that one follow with it there. And then I'm just going to take this, and you'll see it disappear into that cone. And like I was saying, I'm just pushing that right into the cone. Now look, it's stabilized. Barely any wiggle on that whatsoever. And that's going to help out when you go tying in, like when you get to the front of this, when you finish it up with the ice dub in front of your legs and your woolly bugger marabou, what that's going to do is pull everything to that, and it's going to stop right at the right at your lead wire. If you don't do that, and there's just that open air gap back there, you're gonna form your dubbing loop. You're gonna have your ice dub to finish that off, and it's gonna suck back in there, and you wind up using a ton of material, and it just looks, it doesn't look clean either. So that little step right there, throwing that in, will save you a lot of frustration when it comes time to finish the head of this fly. It's not necessarily for extra weight. This fly doesn't need any extra weight. Fishing it with a sinking line. Now, if you're fishing it with a floating line, this is an awesome fly for floating line. A great jig pattern. Add that little bit of extra weight, that or go with a tungsten head, and it'll be really aggressive on that jig. With the sinking line, shorter leader, it's still going to have an aggressive jig, but also very, very good on just a straight jerk strip as well. So, on to the connection of this. Just the one bead, like I was saying, and we're going to take this, make sure everything's nice and parallel for us. Just get a couple of loose wraps in through here. And we'll get our length that we want. This wrap's got a little tighter than I was expecting. There we go. There's about the length that we're after between our bead and our back hook. So we'll take that. I'm going to turn that damn phone off. It's driving me nuts. I don't know where I put it. I'm gonna throw that thing out the damn window is what I'm gonna do. Sick and tired of it. Tough to get any peace and quiet around here for sure. If it's not that phone, it's a work phone. This never stops. Miss the days of no cell phones. Anyhow, that's enough of my rant right there. So we're just taking that articulation wire, doubling it up on that back section, or on the front section there. We're just doubling it up, giving us a little bit of extra security. And then, there we go. We're going to work that. Now we're going to tie in a skirt. This is just, once again, going to be some Woolly Bugger Marabou. And I'm going to peel that off the side and then take this and just bust that. You can see there's that nice clean section right there. I'm going to work that into the back half, or into the back fly or back hook. And it's just going barely into where we tied in that Marabou overwing. We're going to take the same thing on the opposite side, get a little bit right here, just trim that out of the way. I'm going to bust that off nice and clean. We've got the same look on this side as well. So I'm going to measure that out to where it's the same length, turn that around, and then tie that into place. Now you can stop right there if you want as far as the skirt goes, but let me just clean that up. You can stop right there as far as the skirt goes if you want, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take and tie another section in. I need another thing of Woolly Bugger Marabou here. I'm going to find another section and I'm going to continue this overwing throughout the entirety of the fly. You'll really notice this when you use an off-colored overwing, but what this does is it really adds a little bit of bulk and a little bit more motion to this fly. Like if I were doing a brown overwing, you would really notice this. It would be just one continuous section, and what I'm going to do is work that to where it's going to go halfway back that first overwing. So then I want to just capture this, tie it in, and then this is going to give you, one, a reference for when you tie in your front overwing, and two, it's going to be more of a continuous overwing section on that back. You can see where it just meshes right into it, and we've got a nice clean transition from our front hook to the back hook. So now, once again, we're just going to take our wire, we're going to tie this in and go right through to the front, or to the back, sorry. Double that over and capture it, and then same thing as before, form a dubbing loop, and we're going to take that right up to the front. Just shy of the cone head, we're going to have a few materials to tie in there, so you don't want to cram everything in there. Leave yourself a little bit of room to get your rubber legs and your overwing in. We're going to go back to our ice dub here. A little bit that fell, we'll use that. And just a little bit more here. There we go. Get that into your loop and spin it up. Just take a quick spin right there. I want to get that a little bit more compact. Everything looks good. Make sure when you're rotating this around, you got good coverage. There's no gaps right at that skirt, and then you can just rip this right to the front. A little bulkier in the back than what I would like it, but that's alright. That Schlappen's going to cover that up pretty nice for us. It's going to make a nice transition. So now back to the Schlappen, and I want to find a piece that's a little bit bigger, or the fibers are a little bit longer than the one that I used on the back. This pack is garbage. There's a lot of junk in here. I don't like any of that. Let's see. Oh, I got some stuff that fell down here. Maybe one of those will be decent. That one looks alright. We'll take this one. Same as when you're tying in Marabou, when you're palmering it. Find a section that has a nice pliable stem. That way it's not real heavy, or it's not real rigid, and it's not going to split on you. I would like to get some of that really fuzzy stuff in right there, but this pack of Schlappen's just not the best, to put it lightly. Not the best. So I'm going to tie that in package side facing the Conehead and just get that stem out of my way. Now I want to take, I could probably get away without using Hackle pliers on this, but the Hackle pliers keep my hand out of the frame, so I'm going to use them. Alright, one wrap right in the front, get a second wrap close to the front, and then same as before, just nice even wraps, even pressure all the way to the back. We'll clean these up a little bit before we rip our wire through it. Bring that around on the opposite side. Get a wrap there, and then just rip it straight through till you get to the front. There we go. That's nice and clean right there. And now I'm going to take the scissors, trim that off, get rid of that, and then we still have our tag end of Schlappen here in the back. Get rid of that. Everything's nice and clean. We've got a nice hackle section through our body there. Now I'm just going to preen those back a little bit for now, just to keep everything out of my way slightly. These rubber legs in the back are just flopping all over the place. There we go. Alright, now back to the rubber legs on this. We're going to go with a set of 3. Same thing as before. Set those in nice and loose, figure 8 over the top. One wrap in front. Manipulate these to where you want them, to where they're just dangling straight down for you. And then go 1, 2, pull down tight, and it's going to pull that figure 8, or that X that you have over the top. It's going to pull that down into the rubber legs, and it's going to get them in place. Now, I'm not going to cut these ones just yet. I'm going to wait until the end on that one. And I want to find a good plume of Woolly Bugger Marabou. Something that has some good length. Actually, this is perfect. Typically, with this woolly... no. I'm going to say, typically with the Woolly Bugger Marabou, I'll find one right here that has a good example. You'll get this stuff that's all just webbed, and or it's just all matted down. It's not real webby that you're looking for, like right here. It's just kind of fanned out, and it's either that or you will find a plume that has a really thick stem up at the front and it's not really usable. Like that thick stem, minus it being busted up, that thick stem right there is not going to allow you to do anything. It's just gonna it's gonna interfere with motion, and likely it's going to roll off to one side or the other because the stem's so thick. So I pick this stuff right here that is just really webby off of the side, and then I throw this in over the top. Now, like I was talking before with my reference point for that back section that I have on the skirt, I'm going to take and measure this out, and it is going halfway back the skirt section. So it's going to make that continuous overwing throughout the entirety of the fly. So now all I want to do is just get that into place, and you can see that overwing goes straight back. Now I have this little gap right here that I want to fill up with just some ice dub. And before I do that, I'm going to take all of this material back. I'm going to put it under or behind the straw, and then once again we're going to do a dubbing loop, and we're going to fill that section up with ice dub. You can shorten or lengthen it however you want. I like it a little bit wider right here. I like that ice dub because then I pick it out and then it'll just kind of flow back into the body of the fly. And I like the way that that looks. I used to do them to where it was just a really thin section of ice dub, and one time I messed up and I wound up having a little bit more of a gap right there, and I wound up liking that gap being wider than I typically would tie them. Let me get that out of the way. There we go. So back to the ice dub. You don't need a ton on this, just enough to cover up that gap and fill in the difference between your thread and the cone. So just a couple of loose wraps right through there. I could probably take a little bit more, but I'm gonna let that go. And then 1, 2, secure that in place. And then whip finish. 1, 2, 3. There we go, nice and clean. Everything's clear on that. And like I was saying, you can see where that's picked out a little bit. I like to exaggerate it some more, and I'll just pick this out with my finger some. And that ice dub is going to flow back into the body. I just like the way that it looks. Is it necessary? Absolutely not. I just like the look that it gives. So that's the way I typically tie these. So then we're going to just trim our rubber legs. We've got our continuous skirt going to the back with that woolly bugger Marabou. And this thing, like I said, it's a slender profile, but the motion that you get out of all of this Marabou and Schlappen and everything, it's a phenomenal pattern. This is one, bright days, I'll usually go, yellow, white, or tan on this. We get into the darker days. Dark days, I'm typically, there's one section right there I didn't like too much. Dark days, I'm typically going to go with a heavier or with a broader profile of a pattern first. After I cycle through those, I'll go into your olives or black on the Peanut Envy. If I'm not picking fish up with something bulkier like an October or a Boogeyman, whatever it may be, the peanut and olive and black will be in the rotation next. But there is Kelly Gallup's Peanut Envy. If you guys have questions or comments, leave them with me and I'll get back to you. But thanks as always for watching, and we'll catch you next Wednesday.